missing, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of the Coma. Please, like I've been saying for some time, thank y'all for being in this joint. Hope you guys had a fantastic, absolutely fantastic Christmas. Hope you guys got everything that you wanted. Hope your stocking wasn't full of coal, unless you was using it to put into something to keep you warm. But shout out to the fam. I hope y'all are doing fantastic, man. Hope your families are happy. Hope you're doing good. Or if they aren't, hope you are headed in the right direction. And the name of this stream, man, is Eagles QB Jalen Hurts pushes to play for Saints despite shoulder injury. He wants to come back. But let me get you guys buck if you're a little down. I know the Saints are currently on a 2-game winning streak. Shouldn't change the overall trajectory of what we should do at the coach position, even though you'll hear the Saints advocate for it because they're not visionaries. But let's hear what our coach, that's right, the coach of the Saints, Dennis Allen, has to say after that win. Did y'all see this one? If you hadn't, like to hear it go. Hey, look at Dennis Allen.
We said this was going to be a game about mental toughness. The most mentally tough team was going to win this game. Yeah! And start this thing out down 10-0 and fight and scratch and claw our way back into it, then get a lead, then have to finish it at the end. Like that was big boy NFL football. With me? That was big boy NFL football. All right. Okay. I don't have a game ball here with me right now, but I do have one game ball to give out. Okay. It's not for any of you. It's for the equipment staff.
Hell, after watching that, man, I nominate to put the equipment manager as the head coach. He got more out of the team than Dennis Allen did. Let's make the equipment manager the head coach. Let's make him the head coach, family. I mean, damn, they all went to bat for him, man. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, fam, I just wanted to get y'all laughing and bucking on this thing, man. But anyway, let's get it going, man. We got the interview we're gonna play right here from Dennis Allen on thoughts after the win. Here we go.
Offense is kind of predicated on the run game and how everything kind of starts off that. Can you just talk about the last couple of weeks where, you know, it really seems to have dug in with the run game, where you guys have been kind of imposing your will some and controlling the clock and control the momentum that way?
Yeah, look, I think that's been an important part of what we've been able to do the last couple of weeks is kind of get the run game going and be able to lean on the run game a little bit. I think it's really about getting those rushing attempts. And so I think we had, close to 40 rushing attempts in the game the other day. And so I think that's, when you're at your best is when you're able to run the ball effectively and run it, 40 times, then obviously you're keeping your defense off the field. You're limiting the amount of time the opposing offense is out there. And so I think that's a big part of having success.
You mentioned the attempts. How important is it to continue to go after it, even when you might have a 2-yard run, but just to maintain the patience?
Yeah, look, I think that's important because, the run game is more about staying with it and staying committed to it. And look, that it's difficult to do in a game where you're down 10-0, but yet we stayed committed to it. And it ended up paying off for us in the end.
Well, and the reason why you had to stay committed to it because the passing attack was once again inconsistent. The running attack is the only path to success for the Saints in any regard. And whatever slim title hopes that the Who-Dats believe that we have in this upcoming season, with 2 games left, Tampa won that one against the Arizona Cardinals. I anticipated them doing that because the Cardinals on their 3rd-string quarterback. They're not a very good football team, but they almost beat them, truth be told. So we'll see what the next couple of games look like. But the reality at the end of the day is that's how the Saints were able to galvanize and get the win. Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, the running attack help that carried the day. And that's what I've said this entire season is if you can't run the ball, you will not win because the Saints offense, passing offense, that is so bad. They're so inconsistent that you can't put a full game plan on their backs because the offense is leaderless. They don't have a quarterback at the key position. I am no disrespect to Andy Dalton, but he's nobody's leader, So, and of course, guys come in and out of the play, but there's no leader, and that's why that passing attack is so despondent. There's not a series of plays that the Saints can go to consistently to bear fruit. I was really surprised a couple of games ago when the Saints were able to strike back-to-back touchdown drives and go up 14, but they couldn't consistently establish that and keep that going throughout the entirety of the game because that is the problem. The Saints are leaderless, and in the game as important as football, insofar as at the quarterback position, if you don't have a leader, you will not win very many games. So, that's just what it is. So let's finish up with Dennis Allen. I won't play a lot of his stuff, family, because we all heard it before, Sunshine Anderson. But we'll hear a few more minutes and we'll get out of here.
Dennis, on the flip side of that, how do you think you guys did slowing down Cleveland's run game, just especially in the conditions you guys were facing out there on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I thought we did a really nice job of defending their run game. There was obviously a few plays that we didn't do quite as good a job on, but I thought overall, I think that's a really good running football team. And so I thought we did a nice job.
Yeah, what kind of progress?
That is true. The Saints defense, running game and defense, key to success, not just the Saints, but any football team that's relevant. But looking at what happened in the game, the Saints did a pretty good job in slowing down the Cleveland Browns rushing attack. That guy was a top 5 running back in the NFL coming into the game. That was the 2nd best time of possession offense in the NFL. And really the thing was about it, I don't want to steal nothing from the success the Saints had in the game, but really it boiled down to 2 things that really on the opposite side of the spectrum, while the Saints were very fortunate to come out of Cleveland with the win. Number 1, drop touchdown pass in the back of the end zone by Amari Cooper. Slipped down, but still had an opportunity to bring the ball in. Drop, touchdown. The second drop touchdown came later in the game when he found a guy toward the back left corner of the end zone, and the guy missed the ball. It went up off his hand or shoulder or whatever it was. That was another play. Deshaun Watson, I give you a third one. Deshaun Watson was extremely erratic in the games. He was missing on targets, 3 or 4 yards pass intended wide receivers. I mean, he was actually and that's why I was saying during the game, during the watch part, I was actually giving accolades to Deshaun Watson, of what he put us through in the offseason when he was trying to, kind of leverage the Falcons and the Saints against each other before jumping on to the Browns offer. Well, he gave that back in small increment by his play against the Saints, because had that guy been accurate on at least 3 or 4 passes, it would have been a different affair. But the Saints, per se, with their adjustments, running the ball, and also the defense did just enough to slow down Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and stop them from really having a serious impact on the game. So if you want to give them credit, that's the best I can do.
Progress are you guys seeing from Trevor Petting, just in the little bit he's been able to play?
Well, I think each and every week I've seen progress. There's a few plays in this game that you look up and, he's on a DB 10 yards down the field, putting them on the ground. There was one play in the game where, he comes off the line of scrimmage, the safety kind of shoots inside, he knocks him down to the ground, and then goes to, block the linebacker and knocks him down to the ground. So, that was good to see. So we're seeing a lot of, significant improvement with him as he goes along. And I just love his toughness, his mentality about playing the game. And so it's been good to see.
All right, that's about enough as I'm going to do with Dennis Allen right there. But it pre-prattles on for another 8 minutes or so worth of questions to him. So if you want to watch the rest of this, go to the NewOrleansSaints.com video section. You'll be able to find this video. And if you can stomach it, watch it in its entirety. The Saints did get the win over the Browns. It was a very super impressive win, but the Saints actually galvanized and showed some life, as opposed to what we've seen during the season, where they'll have a fired up game and then the next game after that, the Saints would simply go back to sleep. Well, when they won 2 games in a row for the first time under Dennis Allen, do they win a third one against the Eagles? And as you know, that's the name of the title says Eagles and Hurts. Eagles QB Jalen Hurts pushes the play versus the Saints, despite the shoulder injury, because Jalen Hurts does realize how important this is. And this is coming by way of Scott Polachek from Bleacher Report. As the Eagles, Jalen Hurts will push to play versus Saints despite the shoulder injury. And this is on the scoop. So Eagles remain 1 away from clinching the number 1 seed in the first round bye in the NFC following Saturday's loss to the Cowboys. And quarterback Jalen Hurts wants to return to help those efforts. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that Hurts missed the Cowboys game with a shoulder injury and wants to play in the upcoming contest against the Saints. There's a real chance Jalen Hurts, who is considered day-to-day with his injury, pushes to play, Rappaport reported. The report also made it clear that, let me get that out of there. It said the report made it clear that Philadelphia is planning on resting him ahead of the playoffs if he had a defeat if he defeated the Cowboys and clinched the seed. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, it was uncertain if Hurts would play with the sprained shoulder against the Saints even before the contest against the Cowboys. Now, Hurts was firmly in the MVP discussion ahead of his setback and could still win if he returns to the field and leads his team to a number 1 seed. He has completed 67.3% of his passes for 3,472 yards, 22 touchdowns against just 5 picks, while adding 747 rushing yards with 13 rushing touchdowns on the ground. The 24-year-old has taken a leap this season as a passer, overall playmaker, after combining for 22 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions in his first 2 years in the league. Philadelphia's offense still played well against the Cowboys without him. In the 40-34 loss, Gardner Minshew went 24-40 for 355, a couple of scores, couple of picks while scoring a touchdown on the ground, and wide receiver combination of Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown torched the Dallas secondary. They combined for 14 catches for 216 and 2 scores, helping make up for a rushing attack that averages 3 yards per carry. The return of Hurts would be a massive boost to the rushing attack because of the threat he provides with both his legs and attention he draws from opposing defenses, which in turn creates lanes for Miles Sanders. A matchup with the 6-9 Saints should also be easier than the one against the Cowboys. They'll never say that in the NFL. And Philadelphia could jump out to an early lead and then rest Hurts as it clinches the #1 seed. Game, of course, January the 1st, 12 p.m. And that is one of the things that you look at when most teams say it should be an easy matchup. Usually it isn't. It usually isn't. So you don't look past what the Saints could do. But the reality is, like I said, I was anticipating in the Browns matchup that the Saints couldn't put together a back-to-back solid performance, and credit to them. I got to give them credit. I'm real. Credit to them. They did get a back-to-back win there in Cleveland in the snow. They were able to run the ball. They were able to stop the run, and they did get, a few positive plays in their favor. They managed to not shoot themselves in the foot while allowing the Cleveland Browns, who are the same color of cow dung, to shoot themselves in the foot. So it was a positive outing, even though it only represented the Saints' 6th win of the season. But a win is a win, and it's better than a loss, even in a bad season in which we are currently going through. So if Hurts is pushing to get back with a sprained shoulder, it could be problematic, because if he gets sacked a couple of times or even roughed up and knocked down, this could be a detriment to their season. So if I'm the coach of that team, I'm telling them, no, we're not going to play Jalen Hurts. He's just too important. And by the way, we have some about the Great Saint Think Tank and Sports Coma scouts in the building that talked about Jalen Hurts. I was one of the dudes that advocated for us to look at Jalen Hurts. A lot of people say, he don't throw the ball as well. And one thing I know about this kid is that, number one, the Saints have never beat him, haven't beat the Eagles since he became the starting quarterback or been playing as the quarterback. That's number one. And number two is simply because of, like the man said in the article, is the dual threat ability of Jalen Hurts to be able to not only stand in the pocket, but also to be able to get out of harm's way, extend plays and improvise while allowing wide receivers to set up. And then he has the ability to take off and run on you if he don't like what you see upfield. So he's a smart guy. He had a high IQ. He did the same thing with Alabama when he was there. Then Tua Tagovailoa took over the job. And then Jalen came back in that later on there and then won the championship for him the second time around, then transferred to Oklahoma, had an excellent season with Oklahoma, got drafted. And then it was only a matter of time before a player as intelligent, has all the attributes that he have, learned the system, and had some success. So credit to that young brother for doing that, man, and putting the Eagles on his shoulders, the same, no pun intended, with the sprained shoulder that he currently has. Can they bear the weight? I wouldn't do this. This is a gamble. Because if he gets roughed up in this game, and the Saints could get to him, even if they don't sack him, they do have the ability to knock him down, and maybe somebody gets a placed hit on his shoulder, all this kind of old stuff, and it can put what they're trying to do in the playoffs in jeopardy, because it's because of his contribution, the reason why they're sitting up there at the #1 seed in the NFC South. Now, of course, NFC period, but in the East and the NFC at the time. So the Eagles are having a lot of success this year, and congratulations to them on that success. It's up to the Saints to spoil whatever they're trying to do. Now, it's going to be a difficult game. I'm not anticipating the Saints to go up there to kind of do what they did. But listen, if you look at for the first time this season, the Saints get back-to-back wins. That means they're hitting on something. Now, does that mean Dennis Allen should stay? The only way Dennis Allen – and I really don't want Dennis Allen here, but you'll have a hard time getting him. I would say I want him out of here, period. But to be fair, that the only case the Saints can really make that makes sense, as opposed to saying, well, we need to give him another chance to see what he can do. No, that's not what we don't do that here, especially when you coming off a 9-7 season. You didn't make the playoffs last year, but this team hasn't been bad like that unless we had a situation that occurred like what we had with the NFL stepped in illegally, took your coach away and all this bullshit, and that dropped the Saints down. But the team is way too talented, and we're hitting inside of a window to play with Dennis Allen. We know what he is, and we know what he's not, and he's not a head coach. But the only way you keep him, if some miraculous situation that the Saints, I'm not advocating to keep him, but they would justify keeping him. Really, they have the real good justification in keeping this guy is if he can take this bad team, that's under him, where they're a good team, but he's bad, so he's solid with the team. The old adage about the rotten apple spoils the whole bunch. Well, that's what you got here. So with this happening, the only way they can really seriously, to me, justify it is if he gets this team into the playoffs, which is far cry. It's a far cry in my opinion. Tampa Bay won against Arizona, so Tampa would have to lose its next 2 games, and the Saints will have to win its next 2 games. A very difficult contest against this guy supposed to be coming back against the team. We'll see. They say and push for it. We don't know if that's going to actually happen. They might just I would put Gardner Minshew in there against the Saints and keep it pushing and see if my other, because if the Saints get this guy and they rattle him up, grab a hold to him and hurt him up even more so, that his timeline could be pushed back even further. So I don't think you get desperate enough to put him in there. And I know that's Jalen pushing because he wants to do it, then rest. No, dude, that's a coach's decision, and hopefully the coach make the right decision. And I'm not just saying that because I think that this would be an easier out if we play the Eagles without Jalen Hurts, but for the longevity of Jalen Hurts into what they could possibly do in the playoffs, a commonsensical thing, I would simply keep him out and put Gardner Minshew in there if he's not good to go and do that. Now, the Saints will have another tough road game in another cold situation, maybe not as cold as what it is when it was in Cleveland. We'll preview the game later on in this week. But the reality is the Saints have to win against the Eagles, and they have to beat the Carolina Panthers, while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team we were supposed to split with but got swept by, they have to lose 2 of their last games, and the Saints have to win 2 to get in there. Crazier things have happened. That's the only way that you can seriously and ethically justify keeping Dennis Allen as the head coach, is if he gets this team to win 2 more games and then Tampa loses and he gets them in the playoff. That is just like winning a lottery. That's like winning a lottery. So at the end of the day, I'm still saying I'm still team firing because I know what he is and I know what he isn't. And I know he isn't a head coach. I know he can't sustain winning over a long period of time. He's not a disciplined coach in which we need. He's not a meticulous coach in which you would need. He's not a communicative type of coach, a guy that can communicate what he wants you to do across the spectrum. He's not that. He's not a manager of people. He's not any of those things. He only infringes on the outer edges of those things, you see. So at some point, if, and the Saints, as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, it just goes on to show you that the Saints are going to ultimately serve and to try to justify keeping them. And you know what you need to do once the season is over. We talked about that. Now let's talk about this, since we won't talk about scenarios. I hear you, Jerry. Shout out to OG. I hear you say, hell no, I'm with you on that, bro. But I'm just telling you how these people think. Listen, if I was the general manager Q, that I would have a discussion with Dennis Allen. And at the end of the season, I would let Dennis Allen go and I would start the search to find another head coach. I would. That's what I would do. I would look for a head coach, and the qualities that I would look in a head coach, would be a guy that has the ability to have a good, that knows about offense, but even if you talk about defense. But I would like a coach that has a idea of how to move the offense and principles of the defense, a guy that's a good communicator to his players, that's a motivational guy that has the ability to not only communicate but motivate, like a guy like Willie says, as opposed to calling people out, he calls them up. I like that type of verbiage. That's motivational and positive thing, because when you coaching people and you talking to them, and you could be sometimes talking to them while they're doing something in error, and you're calling them out, you're saying, listen, I'm trying to help you, and bring them up and also hold them accountable. That is something that Dennis Allen does not do. He doesn't hold his players in any sort of accountability model. The Saints as an organization has been lacking that for years, if you think about it. And only here's on the Coma, we've been doing this for 8 years. We've been talking about that, and I've been saying this for years. And people was saying when we was in the Crutcher winning that there will be situations that will occur that I will call out, and it was about accountability, holding people to a certain standard and making sure, I don't care if you're the top player on the team, of otherwise you will be held accountable. Like the scenarios that happened in seasons before with Alvin Kamara and the stuff that happened when he went out to the club and infected the whole running back room and all this kind of stuff. He should have been held, you know, the accountability thing. Like they care more about production than accountability, about keeping the overall mindset of the team. To understand that regardless if it's Mike Thomas or the guy at the very bottom of the practice squad, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and if you're screwing up, you will be held accountable. I don't care how much money I'm paying you. So that's something I don't think Dennis Allen has the ability to do, as we've seen during this season. Okay, this is an updated, this is from Bob. Shout out to Bob and the good friends over there at the Saints News Network. Saints update playoff scenario week 17. Christmas Eve victory in Cleveland keeps New Orleans in the NFC South title hunt. However, the margin for error is gone, and they still need some help. Here are the postseason scenarios, and this is what Bob breaks down here. He says New Orleans Saints improved their record to 6-9 with a victory at the Browns on Saturday. It's first time the Saints have won back-to-back games this season. The Saints got no help from the Arizona Cardinals, who blew a lead and giving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a victory on Sunday night. This significantly reduces the Saints' chances. Now New Orleans plays at the 13-2 Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday. They'll wrap up the season at home against the Panthers, currently 6-9 on January the 8th. The Saints have not won 3 in a row since a 9-game winning streak between weeks 4 and 13 of the 2020 season. So it's been a couple of years since we did that. So can we do it here at the back end of the season, man? I severely doubt that, but we'll see. By virtue of Carolina's win against the Detroit Lions on Saturday, a loss by the Saints against the Eagles would eliminate them from playoff contention. So let's get this straight. Let's get this straight, family. Let's get this 115%, family. That the Saints lose against the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a chance we could, because the Eagles are a good team. They're the reason why they're the number 1 team in the NFC. Let's give them credit, But the Saints lose against the Eagles, they're done. So the Saints right now know that they are a desperate team. And that's why you see Dennis Allen clutching and throwing this and cussing at the in the locker room and all that after the win, because he understands that the more wins he piles up, the greater his chance to coming back. Now, it's not a foregone conclusion that they solidified and say, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. Hey, listen, we're going to bring you back regardless. I ain't saying all that, because they understand them people got to look and read the room. They got to put their ear to the street. And that's one thing these organizations know at the top. It's like, you got to keep your ear to the street. No matter how high you get in these organizations, you got to keep your ear to the street to see how the people on that level who support the organization is thinking. Are they feeling what you're going to do? You can't be making these very unpopular decisions, because if you make these very unpopular decisions, and it's a groundswell of support for firing this man, a groundswell, man. It's like on, it's like on counter Trump type shit. We got to do whatever it takes to stop him. It's like that kind of energy on Dennis Allen. I'm serious. And these wins he's piling up is not swaying the Who Dat Nation. Like, yeah, we happy for a win because we've been deprived of wins this entire season, but we still want you gone, baby. So, I mean, that, and because we know winning is what we supposed to do. So getting these wins, like, yeah, we got the win, but that's what we supposed to do. We're supposed to be 9-6, not 6-9. So we're not losing that focus. We do enjoy a win, but we are not swayed by a 6-win club that's supposed to be a 9-win club at this point in time. But anyway, back to my point. Saints against the Eagles. If the Saints lose against the Eagles, they will be eliminated from playoff contention. The Saints would also be eliminated by the Bucs with a win over the Panthers next week. And that's what happens when you place your faith and your destiny in the hands of someone else, not you. Like in the old wise words of Mystical, handle your business. Don't let your business handle you. Handle your business. Don't make your business. I can't do all that. All right, so this is the thing. So the Saints lose against Philly, it's over. The Bucs beat the Panthers, it's over. So New Orleans has lost at Philly each of the last 2 years. However, there remains one scenario for the Saints to win the NFC South, which is their only route into the playoffs. And Bob breaks it down. Number one, they win their final 2 games against Philly and Carolina. Plus, Tampa must lose both of their remaining 2 games. The Bucs host the Panthers in week 17. Then they add the Falcons to finish the year. So you mean to tell me you got a route for the Falcons to get in the playoffs? Do you hear what I'm saying here? Did you hear what I just said? That means that you, the Who Dat Nation, got to put your black and gold self together and sit up there and watch that week 17 matchup and hope that the Falcons, you got to go up there and help and root for the Falcons and Big Low to win a game to get you in the playoffs. Do you hear what I just said? Crazy, man. That's absolutely crazy. If the scenario plays out, New Orleans would be the NFC South champs at 8-9. The Buccaneers and Panthers would finish at 7-10. Tampa won at Arizona Sunday night, so they currently lead the division with a 7-8 record. The Panthers and Saints are second at 6-9. New Orleans will lose a head-to-head. They would lose a head-to-head tiebreaker with the Bucs, who swept them this season. The Saints would also lose a head-to-head tiebreaker with the Panthers. Those are both winnable games. Even if they beat them in week 18, Carolina would win the tiebreaker based on either a better divisional record if they beat Tampa next week. For those who wondered, the Eagles have plenty of motivation for beating the Saints. For our Eagle people listening, Philly has clinched the playoff berth but needs to win one more of their final 2 games to win the East and clinch the conference #1 seed and a first-round postseason bye. Plus, more New Orleans losses would mean a higher first-round pick for the Eagles in 2023, which was obtained from the Saints in the trade last spring. So let me say that again, because I know we got them listening. Y'all put one in the chat. If the Philly people are chiming in, put one in the chat. Put one in the chat for the Philly people listening, because you know they're going to fly, Eagle fly on this one. The Eagles have clinched the playoff berth, but need one more win of their final 2 to win the NFC East and clinch the NFC conference #1 seed and a first-round postseason bye. So not only will they win the East, but they'll get a bye, some rest with that #1 spot. Plus, beating the Saints would mean a higher pick for the Eagles in the upcoming draft. How about that? So they're triply motivated, and that's why Jalen Hurts is pushing. He pushing, man. Look, man, we got to get in here and hurt the Saints. Jalen hurt the Saints. That's what he's trying to do. So they got a playoff. They got a #1. They'll win the East with a win over the Saints, then clinch the #1 seed in the NFC, and then get a higher seed in the 2023 draft because they beat the Saints. That's triply positive for the Philadelphia Eagles. Triply positive. You don't think them people will be motivated to do that? Wow. That's a lot of stuff there. That's a lot of stuff there. And this is going to be an interesting game here, man. Going to be an interesting game between us and them. So, like I look at the schedule right here. Look at this ugly schedule that we had here. The Saints, look at this. Win, lose 3. Then this Buccaneers game, 20-10. They should have beat the Panthers. They were lackluster. We can go over this whole thing. I'm going to do a season recap when it's all said and done. Thank you, Brother Prime. Shout out to Prime. He says the head coach responsible for the game plan on both sides of the ball. Indeed, bro. That's 110%, 115% fact, baby. The Saints should have beat the Panthers in that September 25th matchup. When they went to London, they should have beat the Vikings. They had that game and let it go. They lost 28-25. They come back and beat Seattle. They had the Bengals game locked up. They let the Bengals get away. The Cardinals game was ridiculous. They blanked the Raiders, then come back and lose to the Ravens. They had a chance to win that game, and they damn sure had a chance to beat the Steelers. They beat the Rams, then get blanked by the 49ers. They couldn't score 2 touchdowns to beat the Niners. It would have been 14-13. Offense gave us nothing in that matchup. The Buccaneer game, and that was the December 5th Monday night matchup against the Buccaneers, was even more winnable than the one back on September the 18th. And they gave that one away. And then right after that, then they beat the Falcons 21-18. Barely got through that one. Just, hung around to beat the Browns. And now what would it look like against the Philadelphia Eagles? That's the whole thing. On January 8th, is a year change over with? Would it be a new Saints in the new year? I doubt that, but we'll see. Those new year changes, can they feel good about themselves with all of the positive affirmations of the new year's being said? This could be something more positive when you speak about the year changing, and it has an astronomical effect on, on mindsets of the team. So, I caution to throw that little spiritual element into it too when you talk about teams that are playing bad or are attempting to galvanize. Saints win 2 in a row. Certain factors are playing for you to win games in a row. That wasn't there previously because they couldn't consistently put it together. Could they put 3 together? Very unique time. That's a January the 1st game of a new year. Can they galvanize and take some of that spiritual newness of coming to the new year playing better, being a better person, all this kind of rhetoric, which is not really rhetoric. It's all positive. If you can add it into what you're doing as a person and stay consistent to implement it, you can have a lot of success. Could the Saints capitalize off of that energy against the Eagles is the big question. So we'll see, man, at the end of the day, because I really didn't think they can win 2 games in a row, but they did. And to this point, let's listen to this little thing right here. This is for people who don't know, who said people rarely fire coaches. And within the first year, for those who don't know, the Denver Broncos just got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. What I call, they put the hatchet to Hackett. I don't really want to laugh about the man getting fired, but this is a performance-based business, and when you don't do what you're supposed to do, they took a hatchet to Nathan Hackett. Listen to what they had to say.
Multiple reports say the Broncos have fired Coach Nathaniel Hackett.
Not surprising. Not surprising. Listen, when we talk about a situation, the ownership gave Russell Wilson that huge contract. It's easier to get rid of the coach than it is to the player. Clearly, the scheme, whatever the case may be, as far as why Russell Wilson has played so terribly bad this year, it's easier to get rid of the coach than it is to get rid of the player. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking what has transpired.
Oh, let me pause what Big Woody said. He said it is easier to get rid of the coach than to get rid of the player. And he making that in comparison to getting rid of Russell Wilson versus just getting rid of Paul Hackett's boy and getting him on up out of there. So they just made the decision. And of course, this was a new ownership group that bought the Denver club. And I think they're Walmart based. Some of these people are Walmart people or related to that family that bought the Denver Broncos for some ridiculous amount of money. So they bought them during the year. So they didn't have the same loyalty to keep on that the Saints do, and like I said, every group differs because you have people at the top and you have an owner at the top that relies heavily on people that was picked by her transitioned husband, Tom Benson. When he left this structure. And I think she's the type of woman that wouldn't dare upset the structure that gave the Saints wins for so long because that was the wishes of her transition husband. So with that being said, if anything happens, it would have to be just really bad for her to step in and start saying, listen, that and the third, because she's been around football, been around Tom Benson, but she leaves a lot of that stuff to guys like not even David Lucia, who's just the guy just the money man. That's the guy that look at all the receipts, make sure everything is adding up correctly. He's and then there's a marketing staff. And then there's Mickey Loomis, who is the highest football brain in the organization insofar as what's going on the field. Mickey's been around for years. So he would have to be the one that would motivate Gail, if not the opposite way of if people are not getting pressure or letting Gail know they're not happy about this coach from the other side. And that's why I was saying it's a different effect because they have a different structure. That matchup, I actually watched the game, the Broncos against the Rams. It was the middle game of Sunday, and that was horrible. Russell Wilson was awful in that game. I mean, Russell Wilson looked like he didn't know how to play football. He was holding the ball too long. He had check downs that he simply wouldn't throw to. He was forcing the ball up the field in triple coverage, overthrowing people. He was doing everything he could in the game to me to look terrible. I mean, even with simple plays when you just check it down or throw it away, He was just keeping the ball, getting sacked, just looking terrible. And to a degree, Russell Wilson know that they can't cut me, they can't trade me, because once they traded for me and gave up all that draft capital, they put all this money on me, $200 million something odd dollars over several years. You can't trade me because nobody ain't gonna want me, and you can't cut me. So so this is a situation. I don't think this is Russell doing this. Like Russell, got the man fired, intentionally. I don't think so, because I don't think Russell Wilson would do that based on the type of nice guy he is. I don't know what he looks like the other way around, but in terms of him having a mean streak, but he played, whether or not he was intending to do it or not, he did it. His play was so awful that they fired this freaking guy. They fired him. The team was fussing at him, going off on him. They didn't believe in Russell. Wilson looked awful. Awful, awful, awful. In that game, the people got cooked in that game, 50-something to whatever it was. It was ridiculous. Let's finish up.
Fired in Denver this year. Really is. Listen, I didn't think Russell Wilson would ever play as bad as that we've seen him play this year.
Is that system? Is that player? Because you're talking about a Hall of Famer now in Seattle, and to drop off to the point where the game, it was inept.
But here's the thing. I actually think it's the player. Why in the world would a team get rid of a franchise quarterback if they didn't know something and feel like they didn't have something up their sleeve to replace him? You don't give away franchise quarterbacks. You don't trade away franchise quarterbacks. You don't do that. And Pete Carroll and company knew that they had to move on from Russell Wilson. And who has the last laugh right now? The Seattle Seahawks. That's
true. And I agree with Woody every bit on that. If you got a franchise quarterback that is hitting on something, you won't trade him on out there. And we knew Seattle, what they were doing. Now they're setting themselves up to have a top pick where they'll have several really good quarterbacks that'll be within the range of what they can start to rebuild with Pete Carroll up there in Seattle. So getting from up under Russell Wilson and finally getting him traded to, outside of the conference to Denver, and they may look like they're having a last laugh right now, but, this is interesting on so many fronts, because even though this is the Denver side of things, the reality is that this does shine anytime an NFL coach gets fired after 1 year. This is proof positive. He was fired with just 4 wins and 11 losses. Now, Dennis Allen is 6-9 right now with 2 games remaining. And regardless, the only way you justify, and I'm not justifying, I want him fired, but the Saints, but then I'm saying justify keeping him, is if he finished with 2 wins at 8-9 in whatever strange way, Tampa loses 2 games, and then the Saints win the final 2 against the number 1 team in the NFC right now in the Eagles coming up this week, and then against the motivated Carolina club that's not going to be a pushover. Carolina playing really well right now under Steve Wilkes. They're playing with a team with heart, and they're being consistent. He's installed discipline and accountability there to that squad. And speaking of Steve Wilkes, he was a guy that was fired after 1 year by the Arizona Cardinals for Cliff Kingsbury, who's about to get fired over there this year. So you see how karma comes around. So very interesting. So it does happen. This is another casebook study. Now, Denver's been terrible. They've missed the playoffs 7 straight years or something like that, which is awful. The Saints are a team we missed the playoffs last year by 9-7. But the reality is the Saints have never fielded a team this poor in a while, 6-9, etc. And this team is actually a team that's supposed to be better than last year's team, and the Saints are sitting up here at 6-9. Now, Woody said it was the player on that situation, and versus the coach. In this situation, I would have to say it's the coach. The coach is not. He is a guy that is having great difficulty handling the business of being a head coach. And it shows with only 6 wins versus 9 losses. And I just went over the schedule, family. Most of those damn games we just covered and we talked about when I was going down that schedule was winnable games. The Minnesota Viking game in London, winnable game. The both Tampa Bay games, especially the second game, were winnable games. The Baltimore game was a winnable game. The Pittsburgh Steelers game, how do you lose to the Steelers with a rookie quarterback, was a winnable game. You see, the San Francisco 49er game was a winnable game. All the Saints had to do was score 2 touchdowns. They supposedly averaged 20-something points a game. The offense gave us nothing that game. And Dennis Allen still didn't do a QB change in the matchup to kind of spur the offense. See? So at the end of the day, we left games out there. We had games in our possession and allowed these games to completely just be blown away from us. And really, like I said, 9-6 is being conservative. The Saints should be a 10-win team at least right now, based on some of those games where the Saints just gave the game away. They just imploded, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. The Saints had that game all the way up until the final 3 minutes, then allowed them people to score. What was it? 16 points, 13? No, 13 points in a row on 2 drives to help them beat the Saints and sweep the Saints on the back end of the season. If you want to look at why they're not making the playoffs and it comes down to one game, that's the game. The Tampa Bay game, the second game, when the Saints were leading that game the whole way, and then with 3 minutes left, gave up 13 points to allow the Buccaneers to sweep them on the back end. That's what I'm talking about. That massive implosion, then after that happened, him coming out and not making any changes, keep doing the same thing. And that's another thing. He's not a visionary. He's a guy that's stuck on stupid, and I really can't stand those dudes because they're not good at receiving fresh information and adjusting. And you can't be like that in the NFL. You got to adjust. The same problems Atlanta having with Arthur Smith. He's a dinosaur. He's a dinosaur. You have to be able to adjust and keep it moving. And Dennis Allen's not a new, fresh coach. Dennis Allen's an old coach. Dennis Allen was a fresh coach 10 years ago when he was with the Raiders, and he was a stale fresh coach because he didn't do nothing with them in the 2.5 years that he was there. So he's not a new coach to this system and scheme, and that's what I'm looking for. Somebody, you don't have to be a veteran, an old coach, but somebody, or a younger coach, but somebody with the ability to have concepts to understand how to move the ball offensively, to be imaginative, and a disciplinarian, a guy that is a good communicator, a motivator, somebody takes seriously, that's who I would like to have as the Saints' next head coach, to sit on top of the team, not Sean Payton, because I think Payton's time is done with the Saints. But at the end of the day, Dennis Allen is most certainly not my pick. So when you talk about brains inside of the NFL, or in particular the Saints organization, you got an owner that doesn't know everything about football, relying on people that her dead husband set up. And then, of course, you have Lucia, who's the money man. The corporations call him, and they set up deals to be the official toothpaste of the New Orleans Saints or whatever bull job they won't do. They talk to him, and he sees about the deals. They meet with him, he take you out to lunch and all this kind of madness. And then the biggest basket, or the highest football brain in the Saints organization is Mickey Loomis. Yeah. I'll be me, Q. Yeah, that guy. Dennis Allen's boss is Mickey Loomis. And we seen this picture somebody showed on Twitter of Mickey Loomis coming out and hugging Dennis Allen after the win, like they won the NFC South. I said, what kind of madness is this? Did anybody see that picture of Dennis Allen being hugged by Mickey Loomis? Let me see if I can pull that up for y'all. I'm like, you people don't understand. Hold on, let me see if I can pull that picture up. Somebody probably deleted it. It was a picture they showed. I'm probably not going to be able to find it, but it was a picture of them guys, him with his arms held out, walking up to Dennis Allen to give him a hug. And I'm like, what kind of madness is this, man? What kind of madness is this where we are watching this guy hug this guy? This guy's 6'9", Mickey. Bro, if you taking your energy meds? Well, you're in a food coma? Because the reality is you don't run up and hug that man. That man is a 6'9" head coach, bro. You done gave away several games. What are we doing here? And that right there, when I seen that happen, that made me understand that these people are out of touch with the street. So as such, we have to remind them where they need to come back to and where they're getting it. And you're not getting your money from Lucia. You're not getting your money from Mickey Loomis. You're getting it from us. So unless you move, and we don't really implement this type of power unless it's in dire situation. Remember, we didn't do this until before Katrina, when they were making all these asinine requests to build a brand new. They wanted the state to build a brand new open air football stadium right next to the river where War Lumber used to be. He wanted to buy that, acquire that, and build. I said, an open air. What you said? Fool, did you not know where you are? You are in the city of New Orleans. Who gonna sit up in an open air stadium with 50 something thousand people and it rain and how hot it is? Is you a fool? An open air stadium for real? Dude, them people slammed that down so fast it was ridiculous, man. An open air stadium for him to do. Use your own damn money. But the reality is, after that happened, then Katrina came in and was back and forth, and then next thing you know, they had a reason to use the funds to rebuild like they wanted to, and they really did it too. They rebuilt and upgraded it where they can make more money. They basically gutted it and started all over with the plans and created this and went deep into the design of the building, and they really reworked the dome, and they still to this day are doing it, and they still got a few renovations left where they're going to open up with this stuff. And I showed y'all the videos of it, but that's all off of you. And they really planning on next year to be a big year for them to really make big time cake off of those renovations and get all of the concession revenue, all of the ticket money and everything else, not paying any taxes or pay very little taxes or whatever, and make it. So we let them do all that. We let them do all of that I said. They even overcharge you on the food in the building. You got to pay two times what the stuff is actually worth, 3 times what the clothes is worth and being made over there overseas. We let them do all that to us. And then one thing we do require for them to have a coach with some balls in the brain, and they're going to buck you on that. I say hell to the no. Hell to the no. I'll let you get away with everything. And maybe it's time for us to stop letting them get away with everything, because they damn sure ain't letting us get away with nothing. I say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, baby. Baby, listen to me, baby. Baby, that's balance, baby. Let me tell you something. Baby, what's good for the goose, baby, is good for the gander. Let me tell you something, baby. Baby, I can't get no tax breaks, baby. Baby, they not giving me no skyscraper, baby. Way up in the sky, baby. Way up in the sky, baby. They got Benson Tower, baby. Right there by the dome, baby. Baby, did you hear me? Baby, that ain't Reverend Saint on top of there, baby. That's Benson on there, baby. Baby, they get the clothes, baby. All the money. They get the tickets, baby. All the money. They get all the food, baby. All the money, baby. Everything they get, baby. Tax breaks, baby. They got it, baby. Baby, let me tell you something, baby. I can't get that, baby. Baby, I went to the drugstore, baby. Told them, baby, give me a break on some of that Henny, baby. You know what they told Reverend Saint, baby? Full price, baby. Let me tell you something, baby. Baby, let me tell you something. Full price, baby. I said, baby, I built a dome with my tax money, baby. Baby, they looked at me and told, you know what they told me, baby? Baby, go to the dome and get your liquor, baby. Baby, they don't sell no liquor in the dome, baby. Baby, let me tell you something, baby. I was highly insulted, baby. Baby, let me tell you something. Baby, we let them get away with everything. That's the bottom line. It's time for us to start kicking some power back on these people, man. It's time. Shout out to you, man. Tramal, thank you, bro. Says Q. Don't be surprised they're setting up to be another Matt Rule situation. Let me tell you something, bro. We're gonna do everything that we can to prevent that, bro. And I'm asking the who that's the messages out there to ride with us on this one. The Great Saint Think Tank to ride with me on this one. The only way you lay off the guy is if you give him a really good chance, is if he some kind of way gets the teams to the playoffs. That's the only fair scenario that you would go with for them justifying that. And I'll be like, okay, I see that. He got you to the playoffs because you wasn't there last year. So it's hard to buck against that logic, because like, this dude ain't taking you to no playoffs. But if he gets you to the playoffs this year where we couldn't get last year, man, I would have to lay off a little bit. I have to keep it real. I'm real, man. I would have to lay off him a little bit and let him make it. But I don't think that happens. I don't think they beat the Eagles. I don't think they beat the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are playing some really good football right now. I'm keeping it real with you. They're playing really well right now. The Eagles is the best team in the NFC. Jalen Hurts and then they just coming off a loss to the Cowboys. They're coming off a loss to the Cowboys. So they're going to be extra motivated beyond those things that I mentioned, the NFC East title and the NFC South crown, getting that #1 ranking in the first round chill to buy, and plus beating the Saints to get a higher draft pick, being that they own the 2023 selection. Besides all of that, I still say that it's going to be difficult for the Saints. But anyway, we'll see how it all plays, man. 2 games left to go. We're going to have fun regardless. All right, so with that being said, let me do a quick recap here. We went over Dennis Allen, listened to him spew around a bit about the win on Saturday against the Browns in cold conditions. We also played Dennis Allen's locker room speech. He was cussing on there. And really, I seen a big celebratory situation. Like they all came in and started celebrating when they were giving love to the equipment manager, not so much Dennis Allen. So I'm like, damn. They get bucked for the equipment manager. We might as well make him the guy over the damn. All right, report Eagles Jalen Hurts will push to play versus Saints despite shoulder injury. We went over this one from the Bleacher Report. We talked about the importance of that, having Jalen Hurts as opposed to Gardner Minshew in there against the Saints. But if the Saints get to him and rattle him up, that can stall his development, can hurt him, and it can ultimately hurt the Eagles' chances. So they got to be very smart about this thing because we can get to you. We might not sack you, but we can at least pop you and knock you down. I ain't saying we going to look to hurt Jalen Hurts because I'm not advocating for that, but it is football after all, man. And some guy grab him around his shoulders and pull him down, that can cause some problems. So they better think about that. And then, of course, Saints update playoff scenario with Bob Rose dropping it from the Saints News Network, gave us all the particulars about that. So everybody should be in the clear about the playoff scenarios over the next couple of weeks, going out toward the end of the season. And for our naysayers that said that the teams don't fire coaches after 1 year, Daniel Hackett just got canned by the Denver Broncos after a 4-11 start. They canned him, fired him after 1 year. So I told y'all this stuff happens. This stuff happens all the time when people don't see the team responding. They see the team needing to go in a different direction. They're visionary and they pull the plug. Pull the plug now. Get the guy out of there and let's start looking for people going ahead. So, and for a family members ask me, you think the Broncos could be some place where Sean Payton goes? I don't think so because the Broncos are lacking the trade capital that we need. They just gave up a bunch of their trade capital to acquire Russell Wilson. So I don't think the Browns will be a good choice for us to do business with in trading Sean Payton to. You look at I would love to send him to the Rams, not to the Rams, to the Chargers. Maybe we can get something out of them from that side. Plus it puts them in the AFC. Wherever you want to send Sean Payton, it can't be in the NFC. Don't send him to the Cowboys unless we get a king's ransom for him. Don't send him to the Carolina Panthers unless you fleece him. You get a king's ransom in picks and players to get him over there. So, but really from an ideal standpoint, you want to pack and ship Payton outside of the NFC to the AFC, and the Chargers seem like a place that he want to go if they get rid of their coach. We'll see what the Rams are working with. I know the Rams draft capital situation ain't looking all that good either. But, if you're looking for the Chargers, they might have something you're looking for in terms of draft capital, even though they look like they're going to be a playoff team. So they draft their first round pick's going to be a little, down there in the later 20s or something like that. But me personally, I'm trying to send Peyton to a team that makes the most sense, in terms of me getting the most picks. And if it's got to be inside the NFC, I'm going to fleece these NFC teams if they want Peyton. The Arizona Cardinals are definitely going to come a knocking for Sean Payton. The Denver Broncos will come inquiring. They're going to try to throw money at him because that's the Walmart group that own the Broncos. So they got money to boing, like old Kirby said from Dead Presidents. So this is the thing. Wherever we send them, rather it be an AFC team, but if it's an NFC team, we're going to fleece you, baby. Baby, we're going to take picks, multiple first round picks, multiple second round picks. You got to rebuild yourself using the coach and moving forward. We have to have a vision, and I'd rather have a new coach on top of this thing. So with that being said, all right, so with that being said, that was everything, man, that I got to give for y'all, man. That's all I got for tonight. Listen, I'm going to go on over to the Pelican post-game report. The Pels are playing tonight against the Pacers. Of course, the Pels are without Zion Williamson, without Dyson Daniels, without somebody else. They're without a bunch of people. It's going to be difficult for them to beat the Pacers tonight, but we'll see. Crazy things have happened. So with that being said, I'm going to get out on that. Please feel free, family, to hit the like button hit the subscribe button. Shout out to a bunch of new subscribers of the Coma. Michelle Cormier, shout out to Michelle. Fawan, shout out to you. Ernesto, shout out to you. Ernesto Ponce. Tiki 5041, shout out to you. Your boy 8887, shout out to you. Christelle Headington, shout out to you. High Noon, shout out to you as well. Big ups to you. Ultra Volva, shout out to you. Brother Derek Branch, shout out to brother Derek Branch. And Strike 7, shout out to him. Subscribe to his channel. Felix Winsberry, shout out to you as well. And once again, shout out to brother Prime and brother Maul for the super chat as well. And also, family, feel free, like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, share the show on your social media feed. Also, feel free to check out the Pro Shops link in the description section below. All right. All right, Derek. No, you're not, Derek. You're not new, bro. No, Derek White is not new. No, bro. You've been around the block, bro. We shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. What's up, Sean? Sean says trade him to Arizona because their first rounder is looking really right. That's the point. We got to get more than that number 1 pick, bro. We got to get a couple of picks. Remember the Chucky trade, and that's something that we got to go back to because people like to always say there is no. I done heard writers say this, and I'm like, man, are you kidding me? There is a presence that was already set in NFL coaching trades, and one of the more is John Gruden's his trade, the John Gruden trade. Let me see if I can get that on the screen. That sent him to the Buccaneers from the Raiders. That was a trade that was one that let me put it up on screen for you. Let me bring you back in the Wayback Machine. Here it is right here. All right, so this is the trade that sent. And remember, this is John Gruden before he won the Super Bowl. They got all of this for John Gruden before he won the Super Bowl because he won the Super Bowl later that year because his team, the Raiders, his former team, played his new team. And then we did a whole little report on TSC Unleashed where Barrett Robbins, the center that, ran off to Mexico and got drunk and mixed the game because they changed the game plan to benefit the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Dwight, the defensive back that I played the interview for, he talked about it. And several other players on the Raiders side and the Buccaneers side said that was one of the most rigged games that ever was. And I have to agree with them. They changed their whole game plan to benefit Tampa Bay winning that game. Even the Tampa Bay players say they knew their plays before they even ran them. That's how they were able to beat them that bad. So, I mean, we talk about the game is heavily manipulated. Now, they can't be totally controlled, but it's heavily manipulated, and a lot of manipulation happens. My theory is, and there are books on it, through the referees. That's how they manipulate the games, through the referees. And then back in the day, they used players. That's what Magic Johnson got caught up from back in the day. Michael got caught up in that too. So if y'all want to know the inside baseball on that, you might want to look that up. But some of them players was doing what they call point shaving. Hot Rod Williams, one of the great from Tulane, got caught up in point shaving. So they got certain players, not all of them, because if all of them knew, then they would blow the whistle, would destroy it. So it's only ones that they trust with that move, with doing that, they do that. Now, are they still point shavers in today's game? You better believe it. Who they are, you go and look and find out. But anyway, let's go back to this. If you go back to this is the deal that got the Bucs Gruden. Look at it. The Raiders received 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and $8 million in cash for John Gruden. You see that? Let me kind of put that on screen. That's what they gave up to get John Gruden. And remember, this was pre-Super Bowl John Gruden. This was pre-Super Bowl's John Gruden. He didn't even win the Super Bowl yet, and they gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 seconds, and $8 million for this dude. He ain't win the Super Bowl till that later on that year when he got with them and they won. But this is what's going on. This was what it'll be built on. That idea is, okay, so you mean to tell me that the Saints can't get 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a player and some money for Sean Payton, a guy with a Super Bowl ring? Dude, when they tell you stuff like, man, we ain't going to get no 2 picks for him. We only going to get 1. You a fool? This is what it's based on, and this is what they use. This is the floor in which you work from. So, yes, Sean Payton could get more than what the Raiders got for John Gruden without a Super Bowl ring. I keep emphasizing that he didn't have the ring yet. He got the ring after the trade. He got traded to the team that he won the ring with in his first season. So this was a John Gruden without a ring. So there you go. All right, so with that being said, fam, I'm going to get out on that. I appreciate y'all, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. Share the show's links on your social media feed. And listen, we're going to be back on the flip side and holler at you on the next stream for our family members. It'll we'll be popping up on our Tuesday Patreon stream for our family members tomorrow as well. So with that being said, I'm getting on out. Who that to you? And out.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, fucking like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. So check out the Pro Shop and Who That Too.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That.